stood together and declared Zambia as a free state. Zambia was ruled by British, which was a colony of the British. But Mr. Speaker, now we are a liberated country. We are free to make decisions through this House. Mr. Speaker, as I debate this motion, I also like to urge the government to put deliberate measures which aims at supporting the youth in as far as decision making is concerned. Mr. Speaker, in 2021, the youth, through the revolutionary movement, decided to usher in a government. It was a youth movement. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I wish to urge this August House through government to come up with deliberate policies, such as policies which will, Mr. Speaker, make sure that youths are given adequate policies and legislation which advantages them positively. In terms of what the leader of opposition mentioned, to say the cost of vying for a position of member of parliament for youth is too high. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, that disadvantages them. As leaders who make decisions, or as the people who carry the biggest population across the country, I think the youths deserve more than what they are being given. Mr. Speaker, not to foresee this House, the August House Parliament, has deliberately created policies. Just recently, this year, we saw government through the Ministry of Youth and Sports launching the youth policy. But Mr. Speaker, we haven't seen much in as far as sensitization programs for the youth policy. Mr. Speaker, the country is currently grappling with the issue of junkies around the communities. Those junkies are youths. Mr. Speaker, we can't fight a problem minus seeing what is causing it. Mr. Speaker, in our communities, we have a lot of youths who are junkies, not because they want to be junkies, but because they don't have opportunities, such as opportunities which we have been given to debate in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I'm coming from Munari constituency. We have challenges like drug abuse in compounds at night, people being attacked by the youths. Many of those youths, so we get them. Just here we have in Munari constituency, Mr. Speaker, we are privileged to have the biggest hospital when it comes to mental issues, which is Tanama. We have a lot of students there, youths, who are grappling with drug abuse. When you have a direct talk with them, you discover to say these youths are having those challenges because they don't have money, they don't have food, they don't have opportunities. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fact that yes, indeed, government is doing more to alleviate these challenges, but they can go further in these communities to come up with sensitization programs such as the Youth Parliament and all those programs. Mr. Speaker, I'll go back to talk about the cost of running elections, contesting for a position of member of parliament, Mr. Speaker. I'm vying to contest in a constituency, but because of lack of proper financing, nowadays politics is being perceived to be for the elites, for those who have money. But if government, through the leader of opposition, can come up with deliberate measures to make sure that youths across the country are given, maybe out of the total amount which is paid by an ordinary citizen, a youth is given 30% discount. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude on my motion, I wish to urge the government to be sober, and I wish to appreciate the government and the country for remaining peaceful throughout the 6 years. 6 decades is not a joke. We have a lot of countries across the world which are grappling with peace. Look at Ukraine. But here we are in Zambia. We celebrated the Diamond Jubilee yesterday because we have had leaders who have not put their selfish ideas at play, but they have served the leaders diligently. And as youths, we want to sit on the same table of dialogue with those leaders and contribute positively to this nation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further debates? The Honourable Member for Ndola Central, Honourable Bill Chaiwa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I think where we are coming from since independence, we have seen a lot that has been done by the youth. I'm coming from Ndola Central. You have seen a lot of innovation that has been done by the youth from my constituents. Looking at the CDF that has been implemented in my constituents, a lot of youth are coming coming up with businesses, trying to make sure that they move this country forward. Because at the end of the day, the youth are the majority of this country, and I believe that people of Zambia, this youth, as a government, we are investing a lot. We talk about investing in these college private institutions, those that are providing youth with skills. Because at the end of the day, the government for this year, they have given bursaries to the students who are pursuing not only professional courses, but those who are pursuing skills-oriented courses. And this, I can say, my government is doing a lot, and the opposition, they haven't shedded more light on these things. So my government has come up with a deliberate policy that is to make sure that no youth is left behind. And the opposition, they are not trying to debate with what is in the motion. They're trying to debate using the emotion, but not using the brain. Honorable Speaker, my constituency has a lot of private institutions. I talk about NOTEC. That institution is providing skills to the youths who are left behind. But as a country, we want to move the youth. We want to have the youth with skills. Because at the end of the day, if we focus more on professional courses, we will find that most of our youth won't be skilled. Because at the end of the day, it's not about someone completing grade 12, but there are some who haven't completed grade 12, but they don't have a skill. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
The point of order is raised. You can take a seat.
Mr. Speaker, is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Ndola Central in order to insinuate that there is no youth that are left behind when the Honorable Member of Parliament for Nali here just indicated that we are having a number of junkies, Mr. Speaker. It means there is a lot that we are not doing yet. Is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Ndola Central to stand on the floor of this House and lie to the nation and the members in here that there are no youths that are left behind? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Firstly, the Honorable Member for Ndola Central is entitled to his opinion. So, if the Honorable Member raising the point of order wants to debate in opposition to what the Honorable Member for Ndola Central has debated, we will be given an opportunity to do so. Secondly, the point of order is not admissible because the member has used an unparliamentary word. Lying is unacceptable in this House. So, Honorable Member, you are out of order. May the Honorable Member for Ndola Central please continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What I was emphasizing that no youth is being left behind. I was talking about my constituents, the one that I represent. And I was talking about this because the Honorable Member, we are all having the same amount when it comes to CDF. I think the Honorable Member is not making sure that...
Please move away a little bit from the mic. So
the Honorable Member is not making sure that he sensitizes each member of his constituents for what the government is doing. Because the government has increased the CDF to say something million kwacha. That's an improvement, Honorable Member. It's up to you now to make sure that the members of your constituents, they are sensitized on how they can access the CDF.
A point of order is raised.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, standing orders clearly directors relevance of debate. Mr. Speaker, is the Member of Parliament for Ndola Central in order to drive away from the motion which seeks to urge government and talk about CDF, Mr. Speaker? I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Sakala, for that point of order. I'll take advantage of that point of order to guide the House that let us ensure that we stick to the motion. The motion once again is to place on record this House's deepest appreciation of the contributions that the youth have made to the governance of this country in the last 60 years. We can talk about what the youths are doing now, but let's go a little bit back and see the contributions that have been made by the youth in this country. So with that guidance, I'll ask the Honorable Member for Ndola Central to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. The point I was driving at, we are looking at the skills. We are having 2 students from my constituents who made an electric car at Nortec. Those are the skills my youths are doing in my constituents. So, Honorable Speaker, the point I'm trying to emphasize on is that my constituents is not remaining behind, because when you go to Nortec, 2 students, they make sure that they come up with an electrical vehicle. That where we are coming from, looking at where we started from independence, nothing as such has been done in this country. And that's the progress we are doing as the government, to make sure that those students are equipped with the resources that are needed. We talk about Ndola Central, where it started from. We have the Honorable Rogers Chaiwa, a youth who stood in Parliament by that time, in 1970 something. That shows that we, where we are coming from, we have seen a lot of increase of number of youth who are participating in these youth programs. Honorable Speaker, there is a lot that is being done, and where we are coming from as a country, we have seen a lot of youth coming up with innovation that is transforming this country. And we believe that we can talk about these youth that are coming up with agendas to make sure that this country moves forward. Because at the end of the day, this country, the majority is made up of.
Your time is up, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Brian Chinza, you have your opportunity now to.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Brian Chinza, Honorable Member of Parliament for Katwin Bunch. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin my debate this morning saying we are a hypocrite country. Hypocrisy, Mr. Speaker, according to my English dictionary here, says that it's an act of pretending to have virtues, moral principles, or values, when in actual sense, not. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, if we go back in 1964, it was the youth of this country, the likes of KK and his colleagues, that rose up with nothing but stones and even the primitive weapons they could use to rise against the imperialists. Mr. Speaker, it was the youth again in 1991 that brought about multipartyism. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, just I think 4 years now, it was the youth that woke up on the 12th of August that changed the regime and ushered these people in your right, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are here. As of yesterday, we just celebrated the 60 years of our independence. But what has been done to appreciate the youth that have contributed so much? Mr. Speaker, the only right thing for the people in your right to do is to say, Takangiwa, we have failed the youth of this country, Mr. Speaker. The only right thing, Mr. Speaker, that has to be done, we need at this point to be legislating policies, Mr. Speaker, that will deliberately see a number of youth in this house. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, we come here every after an election, we keep bringing this old men like that's what I remember of Parliament. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, progressive nations, Mr. Speaker, are countries that have placed the youth at the helm of power. Yeah. Talk of Macron in France. Talk of Barack Obama fetched to when he entered power to be president of that country. Mr. Speaker, what we are placing here on record is that this government.
Point of order is raised.
Mr. Speaker, our honourable member for Kapirimponshi in right position to give the house or rather debate without evidence, because in as far as I'm concerned, this house we must debate with facts. I can't see any factual evidence from the member of parliament. Thank you.
I was listening to the debate by the honourable member for Kapirimponshi, and I think in his debate there's nothing that requires him to lay evidence on the table, and therefore is perfectly in order. May the honourable member continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was trying to draw a point that we need to legislate the straight policies here that would deliberately see a number of youths in this house. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, my the honourable member of parliament from Nai alluded to say we need to reduce on the amount of nomination fees that are allocated during these elections. Mr. Speaker, this will be a way of appreciating the youth and their contribution to the governance of this country. We need to see a number of youth on the table of dialogue and policy making. We need to see a number of youths at the helm of power, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, look, we also need to revisit the youth policy. The policy must categorically state who a youth is. There is no way, Mr. Speaker, in this country. No wonder I started my debate by saying we are a hypocritical country. Mr. Speaker, there is no way at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, none of them is a youth there. There is one member of parliament who is a youth. Mr. Speaker is over 50 years. What is he doing there? What is he doing? We need a lot of young people.
Order, honourable member. The House does not debate itself. We do not debate one member against another. Honourable member, stick to the motion. Debate the motion. You may continue.
Mr. Speaker, let me wind up by saying the very decent thing to do is to recognize the efforts of the youth that they have contributed throughout the 60 years of our country. Mr. Speaker, I've thought of the policies. We need to see to it that these policies, Mr. Speaker, come to fruition. Mr. Speaker, I've talked of the reduction of fees, nomination fees. This is what we need to be working on as a progressive country. Mr. Speaker, I've also talked of the need to legislate. It is our duty here. Let's not be pretentious. Let's not sit here and pretend as if everything is right. Let's do the correct thing and honor the contribution of the youth to the governance of this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Bright Ngalamika, honourable member for Kawe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the opportunity to the people of Kawe Central constituents. I'd have to mention that there wouldn't be Zambia without the youth. In short, Zambia is for the youth, and Zambia is going to be for the youth.
Order. Honourable, you can take your seat. All right, so I wish to guide the House that please, honourable members, as we are debating, let's not shake the mics, and as we are debating, let's not move too close to the mics. Let's be away from the microphones. These microphones are very sensitive. They are able to pick your voice even from afar. So let's not be too close to the microphones. Thank you. You may continue.
Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to appreciate the KK regime. I feel like, Mr. Speaker, the only government that we've had so far that promoted youth representation is the government of KK. In the government of KK, Mr. Speaker, we saw the likes of Veron Mwanga was appointed as ambassador to UK when he was just 20 years. Mr. Speaker, in the same government we saw quite a number of youths who were appointed as Minister of Foreign Affairs and other portfolios when we were just in their 30s and 20s, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the youth have contributed largely to the development of this country. If you talk about the Chachacha campaign, Mr. Speaker, was spearheaded by the youths. Mr. Speaker, if you talk about the African 2012, which brought a lot of joy to the Zambians, which put the country on the map, many of them were youths. Mr. Speaker, if you talk about the just ended Olympic Games, it is the youths who put the country on the map, Mr. Speaker. I never saw an old man participated in the Olympics, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, in all the elections, Mr. Speaker, it is the youth who determine the direction of this country. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, as Kama Central constituents, we are very against the policy whereby we have a member of parliament contesting for more than 10 times. Yeah. How can we have a member of parliament for 50 years? Yeah. Mr. Speaker, we need to revise the constitution. The people of Kama Central actually are aligned that the constitution has got so many lacunas. Let's design the system in such a way that it's going to favor the younger ones. Yeah. The system as things stand, it doesn't favor the younger ones, Mr. Speaker. For you to make it as a young man, you have to fight. And imagine you're fighting against these men who are seated on the right side. We have the honorable member for Choma Central, Honorable Mr. Zambia. He has been a member of parliament for over 40 years.
Order, honorable member. Point of order. Let's not debate one another. Just debate the motion. You may continue, honorable.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I raise my case.
The honorable member for Milanzi, Honorable Laila Piri.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And under my constituents, Milanzi constituents in Eastern Province, the government has really helped the youth to interact in development and innovation and fighting gender equality. Me, as an MP for Milanzi constituents, I stood up with my youth in Milanzi constituents there in Talibana Primary School, where we stood up for youth. We actually contributed to the sanitary bin, and we actually brought up students, sponsoring them in different ways, and actually we empowered students so that they can innovate in their career programs. And also, we are speaking on the preserving on democracy. Zambia celebrated independence yesterday. And thank you so much for the 10 of youths who recognized the independence which we had after these 60 years. A lot of youths came on board to vote for this actually democracy in Zambia, where a lot of youths turned up in numbers. That was in 2021. And now we are saying there is socio-economic, where a lot of youths in Zambia have stood up having innovative minds, where we are now empowering a lot of youths to study abroad. We are giving them bursaries. Youths that are not participating in political leaders. We have youths who are there, who are councillors. We have youngest youths who are MPs. political position. We are now empowering youth in job opportunities. We have social cash transfer in villages. My constituents, Milanzi constituents, we are actually empowered youths to take them in schools. We are actually empowering youths in business empowerment. Now there are youth out there who are not only at school. There are youth out there we've empowered who are not in marriages, who ended early marriages, and we are actually fighting gender equality for females.
You can take your seat, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and happy independence to everyone here. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament who is actually debating on the floor, she's busy lamenting to say we've empowered a lot of people, we've empowered a lot of youths. Now the question to the madam here, Mr. Speaker, is that is she in order to lamentably state to this house to say we've empowered a lot of people, meanwhile she doesn't even have the numbers? You can ask her, she doesn't even have the numbers, she doesn't have evidence of any sort of youth that have been empowered. Mr. Speaker, is she in order to mislead this house?
Thank you. I'll take advantage of that point of order to advise honorable members not to debate through points of order. Your chance will be given for you to debate. Allow the honorable member to debate. I think there's no requirement for her to lay evidence on the table. Thank you. Honorable member from Milanzi may continue.
Mr. Speaker, we also came up with policies which are now empowering youth. Such policies, we have a free education policy. We have a lot of youths, a lot of Zambian citizens who are now in school. They are no longer at home. This is a good milestone for us as a country. And we have taken you back to 1964 and 1996 when Zambia was declared a Christian nation by our former late president. He declared in 1996 that Zambia is a Christian nation. We came up on board with different leaders and youths who realized that we are not only leaders, we can't be in a political world without leading the country in a Christian way. And we also have good governance. Good governance. Let me actually define good governance for you, which we actually advocated for as youths and the people in political sphere. Good governance. This is the process where we implement policies and good structures in the political system. We have equality. We have good governance, rule of law. These are the things we are fighting for in the country. And also, if I take you back, when we see these former presidents, our late presidents, and former leaders who led here in Zambia, these leaders, they were young when they were in parliament. Our late president, Rupia Bwezangwanda, was a youth when he was in parliament. KK was also a youth when he fought for independence. And now we are saying that we don't have government, we don't have youths who are in governance.
A point of order is raised.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I would love to make mention to you, Mr. Speaker, that the motion that we are debating today stipulates, as I quote, that this House places on record its deepest appreciation of the contribution of the youth to the governance of the country in the last 60 years of independence. The key term being the contribution of the youth to the governance of this country. Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member for Milanzi in order to divert away from the main motion which we are supposed to debate and bring in issues such as sanitary pads and other stuff that are not related to the motion that we are debating today? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I was following the debate by the honorable member for Milanzi. I think she's in order. She's highlighting some of the things that have been done through the youth movement. So she may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. the MP for Milanzi constituents. We've actually empowered youths, and youths, they have realized that without them, there is no development. We've actually empowered youths in development by engaging them, in empowering them, and actually taking them to some colleges which are empowering colleges, which they actually have a trade college. Now, if we're not going to stand up as not that youths are not in parliament, we are here to fight the gap where we say youths are not they're not actually contributing in the political sphere. We have social dimension of development where youths are interacting. Youths are coming up with different innovative ideas, and we actually empowered some youths where we actually empowered them where they are now having a training facilities and machines where they have to produce reusable sanitary pads. That's a big achievement because not every youth can afford that. Not every female can afford that. That's actually a good improvement in Milanzi constituency, which I have actually empowered youths. And we also have...
Your time is up, Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Let's hear another female voice. The Honorable Member for Kabwata, Honorable Evelyn Katebe.
Happy Independence Day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to represent the people of Kabwata constituency. Mr. Speaker, I would like to specify what governance is. So, governance is a process by which an organization, a community, or a government manages its affairs and makes decisions. Emphasis on make decision. Mr. Speaker, the motion today at hand to which we are deliberating or debating on states the appreciation of the youth, to the governance of the country over the past 60 years. I will take back this house to 1964 or before even independence. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of this house, ladies and gentlemen, the opposition leader earlier stated to say that Cha-Cha-Cha revolution. I don't know if he was opposing us or supporting us. Because indeed, that is appreciation of the youth, the contribution of governance. The Cha-Cha-Cha revolution, that was spearheaded by the youth, indeed was a force to reckon with back then, because it was spearheaded by the youth, and because of that movement, hence we are here today. We were here today celebrating our independence and appreciating the youth. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I would like to bring to the attention of this House the likes of the Honorable Minister of Mr. Mundia Sikatana, who at the age of 26, who is a youth, Mr. Speaker, was a minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move to my second point. Our Constitution, Mr. Speaker, according to Article 46, allow me to state it, of the Constitution of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, Article 46 of the Constitution of Zambia states, a citizen who has attained the age of 18, Mr. Speaker, who has attained the age of 18 is entitled to register as a voter and vote in an election by secret ballot. Mr. Speaker, our Constitution for the past 60 years has been open to the youth of Zambia. The age of 18, honorable members of this House, 18, that is the youth. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, if a citizen or a youth wants to stand, going back to our Constitution, can stand at the age of 19, Mr. Speaker, as a councillor. As an MP, Mr. Speaker, at the age of 21, 18, 19, 21, honorable members of this House, those are youths. Mr. Speaker, moving to my third point. the voting patterns, Mr. Speaker, over the past 60 years, the majority of voters have been the youth. That in itself is governance. Mr. Speaker, the youth choose the leaders and the youth are part of the leadership. If we look at the MPs and the councillors currently, we do have youth. If we look at Honorable Mamunima Mutinta, he is a youth. Mr. Speaker, moving on to my last and final point, Mr. Speaker. We will not allow the opposition to mislead this House. I say the youth do not participate. If we look at the youth activists, the youth have been leading in governance in terms of science and technology and human rights activation. All that activism, all that is governance, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to say once again from Kabota constituents, happy independence, and youth do not be misled. You are part of the governance system of Zambia, and you are the change maker. You are the agents of change.
The Honourable Member for Kembe, Honourable Edgar Silwimba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for according me this opportunity to discuss with fellow comrades. I'm not a happy human being today. 60 years down the line, we are still talking about youth engagement in politics. We should have had deliberate policies which will engineer or which will actually coerce the youths to be involved in the civic space. It's been so hard for an ordinary youth in Zambia to get involved in the civic space because the civic space has been left for the bourgeoisie or the elite families. I would argue that in the 1960s, 1980s, we had a number of youths who actually engineered the liberation movement. We've got the likes of KK, the likes of Venom Mwanga. All these were youths. But when it came to the appointing table, only older people were considered. I'm saying that we've done a lot in the past, and the records are there that youths have actually done tremendous to this great nation, Zambia. But what I'm saying is we are demanding more, because if the youths are given policies which will steer, which will actually entice them to get involved in the civic space, would have had a lot sitting on the other side of the house. I will drive back to my other point where I want to talk about the presidential age limit. We are always used as pawns in terms of the systems of governance. Youths in Zambia will not get involved in actual governance, but will be used in the electoral process. And we choose to say no to this because we want to be involved in the actual governance. It does not entail that you can only be president when you're 35 years old. And these are constitutional reforms which we are fighting to change. Because we could actually have a stable and quality candidate who's 32 years old. But because of the constitution we have, it places much disadvantage on the youths in Zambia. Look at the Zambian population right now. We are with the majority. But then we have to wait for 35 years for us to do what? To stand as president. So we are saying we want to get involved in governance now. 35 years is too long for us to wait. And because of that, we are forced to entrust our leadership in what is available. We know that ourselves will not consider. None of our own is placed in that category to qualify to stand as president. So my submission to the August House and the wake-up call to everyone seated here is that we need serious constitutional reforms which will actually allow youth to not only vote. I'm saying voting is not enough. Active governance participation entails that we have policies which will allow we the youths to sit at the decision-making table. So I'll move to my other point where I want to stress that we need deliberate policies which will enhance access, for example, to finance, just to allow the youths in Zambia to be involved in entrepreneurship. We're not only talking about getting access to jobs in government. We're not a lazy generation.
Point of order is raised.
Happy Independence to everyone. Yes, Honorable Member, you are saying that youths are not engaged in governance. Recently, there was a flag off for cash for work, which we, the government, implemented. Cash for work is across the country.
Honorable Member, what is your point of order?
The point of order, Mr. Speaker, is him saying that youths are not engaged in the governance. Is it in order for him to say that without proof and without evidence? So I'm trying to put him in the right track so that he understands. Yes, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, may I continue, please?
You want to debate or you want to? I thought you had raised your point of order.
Yes. Is it the honorable member in order, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable members, give him a chance.
Yes. Is it the honorable member in order to say that youths are not engaged without full evidence?
All right. That is an attempt, an example of a point of order that is raised in order to debate, to counter the debate of the member that is debating. So, honorable member, please wait for your opportunity to debate and you will be given that opportunity. May the honorable member for Kembe please continue.
Usually when you're trying to do the right thing, something always comes. Our age August says that we have to remain reasonable because we are fighting a regime which has not put the interest of the youth at heart. In my conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I must make mention that I'm coming from Kembe, and in Kembe constituency, we are the majority are the youths. But however, I must mention that access to certain government benefits, like we are talking about Citizens Economic Empowerment Fund, we're talking about CDF, they are not the right policies which clearly outline and places the youth emphasis or interest at heart. It becomes so hard for an emerging youth to access, for example, a loan at a bank, because the conditions which are set up are so hard for an emerging youth to actually do so. I'm saying that we're not a lazy generation. We're not only aspiring to sit and serve in government positions, but however we need a conducive enabling environment which will allow us to work and access to finance so that we can empower ourselves. If I'm going to want to access a loan today, I must say from a neighboring country, Zimbabwe, they've opened what is known as a youth bank. A youth bank is a bank which has been set up for the youth to access funds with limited or probably lower interest rates, which will allow them to venture into different entrepreneurial activities. So we are not only crying that we want to get involved in governance at that level, but what we are crying for is policies which will steer youth engagement in national development. Yeah. Every great nation has been built by the youthful energy, and Zambia has enough energy to develop. What we need is to place much emphasis and be deliberate in what we do to ensure the youths are given an equal share in governance. Yeah. I rest my case. Yeah.
The Honorable Minister of Health, Honorable Njabulo Chaka.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for granting the great people of Patrol constituency to add a voice on this particular motion. My name is Javulo Chakangube, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Katua constituency. Yes. Mr. Speaker, allow me to echo that Zambia needs Zambians to have its problems addressed. And these Zambians, Mr. Speaker, are not an exclusion of the youths. Youths have been of significant importance and have contributed greatly to the development of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we should recall very well that the youths contributed even to getting independence in 1964. These youths, Mr. Speaker, even contributed greatly in removing the previous regime from government, putting our government into power. A government that is truly looking at the great, looking at the welfare of this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you can recall very well that the youths rose and went to vote in numbers, voting for this government
Mr. Speaker, Wakada.
Meaning?
It's on record. Last time I was attacked also by cadres.
Honorable Minister, you said some words, wale tupona sana wakada, meaning?
Mr. Speaker, I mean, they were beating us a lot. Cadres were beating us, Mr. Speaker. But the youth contributed greatly in giving this government the right to run over their affairs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is only right that every achievement that this government has made is owed to the youth. The Ndara Geocarriage Way that was initially at 1.2 million and now being constructed at 600 million is a strike by the youth, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the recruitment of 10,000 plus teachers is a strike that is owed to the youth. The recruitment of health workers, 11,200 plus health workers, is a strike that has been made by the youth. The resuscitation, Mr. Speaker, of Shaft 28 mine that was initially dead, Mr. Speaker, and has been risen like Lazarus was rose from the dead. It's a strike that is owed to the youth, Mr. Speaker.
A point of order is raised. You can take your seat.
Mr. Speaker, he is honorable member in the right minister in the right space to mislead the House that the teacher recruitment exercise was deliberate to ensure that the youth are given space. Is there evidence? Because we still have a lot of youths who are complaining that were not considered. Is there evidence which can place for this August House that there was a deliberate action taken to ensure that youth are given priority during the recruitment exercise?
Honorable member for Kembe, I think you must have seen the advert that was there in the recruitment of health workers, teachers, and the target group was the youth. So it's in public domain. The Honorable Minister does not need to lay evidence before this House. May the Honorable Minister please continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. There is a station of Mopan, there is a station of KCM. All these strikes, Mr. Speaker, are owed to the youth. These youths contributed greatly in bringing this government that is bringing up all these good policies that we are enjoying today, the freedom that we are enjoying now. We've given you back the freedom again. You remember that this freedom was stripped off from the Zambians. We could not move with any cloth that is not green, Mr. Speaker. People will say no. They want you down, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the debt reduction, the implementing the healthcare funding, the fight against corruption, you've seen already. We are getting properties. Those properties belong to the states. This is the win for the Zambian people. Freedom to them. Freedom to the Zambian people, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Youth have contributed significantly in entrepreneurship. We have seen a lot of youth making strides, even employing other fellow youths, creating jobs. Mr. Speaker, youth have participated in farming, Mr. Speaker, agriculture, increasing.
A point of order is raised.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Chilabombo. Actually, I'm Harrison Chama, Member of Parliament for Chilabombo constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am coming from a town which is known for mining activities, and I have heard the previous honorable talking about youths being employed in this mining. Mr. Speaker, a number of youths in my constituency are complaining because of high unemployment levels in my constituency. So I don't know where the honorable member for the Ministry of Health is relying. Then the second point is putting people in employment.
What is your point of order?
My point of order is, Mr. Speaker, in this country we have two types of youth. We have those who are educated and those who are not educated. So what's the plan for this government to those youth who are uneducated? Because they are only relying on those who are educated, being favored with bursaries and the likes of education materials.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Member, for that point of order, which does not amount to a point of order, because the Honorable Member was just attempting to ask a question to the Minister. But this segment is not for question and answer. This is a motion that is before the House, and the Honorable Minister is in order to debate in the manner that he is debating. May the Honorable Minister please continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, youth are being considered in this government, Mr. Speaker, and we are really appreciating their input. And we have even increased the CDF now to 36 million. 36 million, Mr. Speaker. And this increment is benefiting these youth in the communities, appreciating them so that they can even be in a position of getting skills. We have a lot of skills development centers in these communities. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to state that every scientifically it is known that the most phase in which people are most active, talented, enthusiastic, and are most creative, it is in their youthful phase. And this government is putting everything in hand to ensure that the youth of this country benefit, and we appreciate their significant contribution to this federation. Thank you so much.
The Honorable Member for Kaputa, Honorable Lesa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, indeed for your call. My name is Lesa, Honorable Member for Kaputa. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by saying that during the Cold War, when Kenneth Kaunda and his friends, he was talking about the late Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe and the rest, during the Cold War, they stood and said, "You kill us, you bury us, and out of our blood shall Zambians be formed, and of course fight back for that nation." Mr. Speaker, that sense of patriotism has transcended to the very youth of today. Mr. Speaker, it's with great joy I actually appreciate the strides and of course the efforts that the youth have made to contribute to this lovely nation. It's very much puzzling to see that our friends from the left actually criticizing the great strides that this current government is actually making and moving. Mr. Speaker, just recently, few policies have been laid down in pen and paper to see that we rectify, okay, we purify the policies for these our youth. In 1994, a policy was laid down. 2025, the youth policy was revised again. Just recently, when this new government was ushered into power, we realized that our youth needs participation, our youth needs contribution. We revised another policy, the National Youth Policy, which has proper statements to show that the youths are indeed appreciated. Mr. Speaker, allow me to take you back to another journey in 2003, when we saw a tremendous youth with a relentless development. Now, Mr. Speaker, over the years of the Golden Jubilee, we have seen our youth participating in these national matters. It is also very much concerning that, Mr. Speaker, just recently, 3 days back, the Zambian government, through the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts, and our fellow colleagues, we saw the Zambia Youth Connect, a tremendous networking network, to see that youth all over the world are actually connecting, and of course synergy. Mr. Speaker, our government is also doing enough to see that these youths participate in these governance issues. Recently, when we were drafting the policies, I'm sure that my friends from the left don't know, we got youths from all over the country, all the 10 provinces, to sit down and of course put an input to see that these policies not only work for us, the policy makers, but also the beneficiaries. Mr. Speaker, we noted that in the previous regime, it was policy this, policy that, but in this new government, Mr. Speaker, allow me to put it to record. But we have seen very well that indeed we are letting that these youths have a say. Recently, our
constituency was privileged enough to send at least 3 youths, Mr. Speaker. And this was in Rwanda, to see how best they can gain mileage of development, and they are back here, Mr. Speaker, with evidence being based. If you go to the Ministry of Youth, Sports and that's right
Point
now.
of order is raised.
Mr. Speaker, as you may be aware, I rarely rise on point of orders.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member for Kaputa in order not to adhere to your guidance of holding the mic? Mr. Speaker, I say to you seriously.
Yeah. The only problem I have with that point of order is that the honorable member raising the point of order was also shaking the mic. So members from both sides, let us avoid, shaking the mics. We may damage them.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And I'm seeing that my fellow colleagues this side know exactly what we are talking about and they are waiting their seats. Now, Mr. Speaker, allow me to resume my debate with saying, in order of universal deceit, I find telling the truth to be a revolutionary act. And these are John words. Mr. Speaker, pointing back to the board of contention. Mr. Speaker, just recently, we are having something very important under the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts. I am actually recognizing the ministry very much because this is the ministry that has seen works since they are asking for evidence. Mr. Speaker, just recently, we saw that the engagement of another interesting party, where the National Council of Students Unions, Mr. Speaker, a firm organization came in board and on board, Mr. Speaker, to organize something that will be seen on our television soon, where youths and students are participating in parliament. Now, where are we asking these people? Mr. Speaker, one thing would actually make sure to say that these students, these youths, majority of the students, of course, are youths, actually participating in governance. What we are waiting for now is, Mr. Speaker, that we even know that when these people, the youths who are shadows into power, give us another term, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you will not only see participation, but you would also see youth inclusion in these government systems. Now, Mr. Speaker, it's Vini, Vidi, Vinci. I came, I saw, I conquered. I remain Mr. Teresa. Thank you for the call.
The honorable member for Lusaka Central, Honorable Luyando Makwaza.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to say one thing. It is very unwise for the opposition to come to this house and say there are two types of youths, the educated and the educated. Now, Mr. Speaker, as the youth government that we are, this is the more reason why we've introduced free education, so that all the youths that are uneducated should benefit from that policy. Now, Mr. Speaker, I also find the opposition very wrong by saying we are the government that do not care. Of course we care for the youth. Now, Mr. Speaker, this is the more reason why the youth removed this government into office. And you know why? Because they did not create a conducive environment for the youth.
Order, Mr. Speaker.
Now, Mr. Speaker, allow me to put it into record in this house. And this is the same government.
Please take your seat.
Point of order.
Okay. I was listening to the preamble by the honorable member for Lusaka Central, but the preamble has taken too long. Now you can get back to the motion.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to go back to the motion. Now, Mr. Speaker, the youth have actually taken part in the governance of this country. Why do I say so, Mr. Speaker? Now, Mr. Speaker, this government has made sure that through the student-led organization, NACOSU, has brought a very useful program for the youth. Now, Mr. Speaker, these are the same people that are saying the government does not care. Now, how, Mr. Speaker? Because, as my colleague said, that we'll be seeing young people on television debating about important issues. Mr. Speaker, loving government. We've seen a lot of youth that have benefited from CDF. Mr. Speaker, because we are the loving government, we've seen a lot of people that have been employed by the government. We've recruited, most of the people that have been recruited members of the House are youth. Now these people are saying we do not care members of the House. My heart is bleeding. Because with the wonderful work that we've done as the government, I think the opposition, it's high time you recognize us. Members of the House, the opposition, not only did they make the environment so unconducive for the youth by abolishing meal allowances for the youth, but because we are a loving government, we brought back those meal allowances to make the environment conducive for the youth.
Mr. Speaker, is the Honourable Member of Parliament on the floor of this House in order to insinuate that, Mr. Speaker, that the opposition here does not recognize their efforts. And Mr. Speaker, I seek for your serious ruling.
Mr. Speaker, the DMNU coordinator, national coordinator, Dr. Gabriel is a youth.
Order. Order. Honourable Member. The Honourable Member has raised a point of order. You wait for the Speaker to make the ruling, and you wait for the Speaker to request you to proceed. That's when you proceed. And the point of order raised is not sustainable. It is, the member is free to express her opinion. May the Honourable Member for Lusaka Central please continue.
Apologies, Mr. Speaker, because I take matters of the youth to my heart, and that's the reason why I'm coming out like this. Because, Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, Mr. Speaker, the national coordinator for DMMU is the youth. Now, is this contributing massively to the development of the country? It is, Mr. Speaker. And it is because of this government that we are making sure that most of the youth are having key positions to encourage the youth out there. Now, let me take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to spread the word to the youth that the same way the previous government used their junkies, we are not going to do that. Because we are a loving government, we want you to take part and utilize the efforts that the government were putting in. Now, members of the House, it is this same opposition that is making our youth to be lazy in this country, because we put in a lot of effort for the youth. So spread the word, encourage the youth to utilize CDF, let them come up with projects that we are supporting as the government. Do not tell them that we're not doing anything, because honourable members in my constituency, Lusaka constituency, the youth have really enjoyed and they've contributed massively to the development of the constituency, and we recognize the efforts of the government.
Point of order.
Continue, Honourable Member. Continue.
Mr. Speaker, please, I ask the opposition to let me speak, because these issues are cardinal.
You are protected.
Now, Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, let me conclude by saying, youths, we love you, and it is for this reason that we emphasize that to bring us back into power, and we know that they will. Because it is on the table, as the motion says, laid evidence, and the evidence is there. People have seen the wonderful work that we have done for the youth, and these things we speak with facts. We brought back the meal allowances, we've recruited the youth, we brought in the free education policy that our friends failed to bring. And they come here to this house and then we do not care. Now, members of the House, please speak with facts. I raise my case.
The Honourable Member for Katua, Honourable Milambo Hamianda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. First of all, happy independence to every Zambian in here. But it's unfortunate that there is serious hypocrisy at the helm of governance of this government, Mr. Speaker. What am I trying to say? The same youths that led them into power are the same youths they have neglected. When you go out there, Mr. Speaker, you discover that the most people that are complaining out there are the youths. Numbers don't lie, Mr. Speaker. When people speak, meaning there's something that is going on. Mr. Speaker, I expected that since they have accepted that the youths led them into power, they are going to come in with policies that are going to encourage youths to be part of and part of leadership. What am I trying to say, Mr. Speaker? If you look at one of the most progressive countries in Africa right now, are the countries that have been led by youths. It's unfortunate that even 6 years down the line, we still have to wait for somebody, just like my fellow member of parliament earlier alluded, another 36 years for one to be president. But if the youths are the president makers, why don't we allow them to be presidents when they are youths? Because one thing that we need to understand about youths.
A point of order is raised.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you are aware, I rarely rise on points of order. When you go to standing order 64, Mr. Speaker, manner of speaking, is the honorable member on the floor in order to allege that this government has little interest to the welfare of the young people, when in my possession is their party manifesto on page 25, where they are suggesting that when they come in power, that is if at all they will, they intend to raise the age limit for one to run as member of parliament to 45. Is he in order as I lay their manifesto on the table?
Well, I'll reserve my ruling because I have not read their manifesto. So I want to acquaint myself with the manifesto before I make my ruling. In the meantime, the honorable member for Katua will continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, I think it is imperative that as a government in power, we actually look at things technically and realistically, and like always doing things just by the paper. As I was trying to say, if the youths of this country led us into independence, then why is it that even 60 years after independence, in the Ministry of Science and Innovation, we have somebody who is over 50 years? How are we going to have innovation and scientific innovations if we are being led by old minds in an innovative ministry? That is a very cardinal ministry. Mr. Speaker, you realize to say on Facebook, social media has grown in numbers when it comes to the participation of Zambian youth. And it is, you agree with me, Mr. Speaker, that to get 6 years down the line, none of our social media platforms in Zambia is monetized. Then what are we doing for the youth? Because these are some of the things. It is true that no government will manage to employ all the youths. So creating platforms for youth to create their own revenue is what I expect these people on the right to do, Mr. Speaker. These are simple measures. We do not need complicated measures, Mr. Speaker. We need simple things, just like renewing policies that will allow the youths to create wealth on their own. Just recently, we had one of the most biggest gatherings of entrepreneurs.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. A point of order is raised.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for according the people of Mungu Central and happy independence to you all. Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member in order to allege that the government is not putting the interest of the youths by employing them. Currently seen under CDF, there is an initiative that we've done. Even a grade 7.
Order.
Ulimwaje sana yule. Lawyer face to Randeko. Honorable member, are you in order to allege that the government has not prioritized initiatives that will generate an income for the youths? I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that point of order. The Honorable Member, in raising the point of order, was addressing the member who was on the floor. He said, are you in order? So the point of order was not addressed to the Speaker, and therefore it's not sustainable. May the Honorable Member for Katua please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it had to take a private entity to organize an entrepreneurship program for the youth in the entire country. It is a shame for these people seated on your right. If indeed a private entity had to organize an entrepreneurship program of order, Mr. Speaker.
Shame is unparliamentary.
I withdraw, Mr. Speaker. But these people should indeed set their conscience and see to it that the youth of this country are indeed taken care of so very much, unlike the pretenses and false accusations they put against the policies that they do not implement. Thank you.
Next is the Honorable Member for Chirabombwe, Honorable Felix Swaba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according us with this opportunity. I strongly believe that the youth of Zambia have engaged themselves in the affairs of this republic. Let me take you a way back before independence. In 1958, UNIP was founded by a young man aged 29, Mainza Chona. This movement was pivotal to Zambia's independence in 1964. He later went on to become Zambia's third vice president in 1970. I would also like to remind this August House that Zambians have been there in the political engagement and advocacy of this country. Even when Zambia had a one-party state, there was opposition. And that opposition were the young people of this country. That's why you see in 1991, Frederick Titus Chiluba goes on to become Zambia's second Republican president because of the works of the youth of Zambia. I would also like to remind this August House that in 2021, according to the United Nations Population Fund, 4 million registered voters were between the age of 18 to 24, of which the turnout was 70%. And young people worked in the early hours to go and make a decision that resulted into this government coming in power, because they strongly believe that this government would be one that would stand for them. The United Nations Population Fund, according to the research, they say the main problem we face as a country is education and employment. And the moment this government was ushered into power, they saw it to be important to implement free education from grade 1 up to 12. Despite introducing free education, this government has gone on to create more employment opportunities for young people in the military sector and in the teaching fraternity. Also revamping the mining industry of this country, thus boosting the economy of our country. Young people of this country have involved themselves more into the affairs of this country. The best example I can give you is in the 2021 general elections. We saw a 29-year-old man ushered into office as mayor of Chipata, of Chipata. As it is not enough, even the people of Mansa went on to usher in Njiko Msuku as the current mayor of Mansa, as I'm talking to you right now, a man aged 30. Young people, they have taken up the role to ensure that Zambia continues having peace. As I'm talking to you right now, Zambia is one of the most peaceful countries in the world, and more companies are coming to invest into these countries, thus creating more opportunities for our people. As it is not enough, I heard one of my honorable members in this second house who talked about monetization. The moment Kenya monetized Facebook in that country, we saw our permanent secretary, Honorable Chama Fumba, to say the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Arts, under the Department of Arts, they are embarking on a project to ensure that content creators are also recognized by ensuring that they work on a platform that will ensure monetization of Facebook in the Republic of Zambia. This project is still underway, and government is working tirelessly to ensure that it is implemented for the better interest of the people. This government is working tirelessly. Right now, it has embarked on a project to ensure they construct vocational and training skills across the country. Because they should understand it's not everyone who can make it to handling institutions like universities and colleges. That's why they want to empower them with skills so that even in their communities, they are able to earn a living. It is only in this government that young people have engaged themselves in the affairs of this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, I raise my case.
Thank you. I'll allow one more member from the opposition before I come to the government side so that the government may respond. The honorable member for Solwezi Central, Honorable Peter Kayombo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Solwezi Central a voice in this August House. Mr. Speaker, I would like to begin by defining the word governance. So governance is a process of governing or overseeing the control and decision or direction of something. Mr. Speaker, we've heard in this House the members on your right, which is the government, elaborating how young people have been so vibrant since 1964, how they fought for the independence and liberation of this country. Mr. Speaker, under our motion, there is a key word also that says appreciation. Appreciation simply means to appreciate somebody based on what they have done. So in this case, we are saying the young people have been at the core center of the independence of this country, which is Mother Zambia. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the appreciation the young people are receiving, we have been getting things to do with CDF. For example, they will tell us to say, no, we are empowering to go to school, to gain knowledge about being a carpenter and the like. Mr. Speaker, what we are saying in this House is that the young people should not just be taken to school to learn how to be a carpenter. We are saying young people should, in fact, take leadership roles. They should sit in the decision-making tables where they will sit and decide things that matters to them the most. Mr. Speaker, I come from Solwezi Central, where we've got minerals everywhere. But if you go to Solwezi today, Mr. Speaker, you cannot even find a single university that will educate and empower knowledge to the young people coming from that side of the country. Mr. Speaker, that shows how hypocrite these people are. They are full of talking, sugarcoating things while they are not doing them. Mr. Speaker, I want to give you a clear example. How do you have somebody who is running the ministry for young people who is not paying themselves?
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, can you protect me?
A point of order is raised. You are protected, honorable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for according the people of Kwacha constituency an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, in light of Standing Order 71, the facts that should be given before this Honorable House must be factual and verifiable. Honorable Member has submitted before this Honorable House that the people of Solwezi do not have any institution. I must state before this Honorable House that we have the Copperbelt University, Solwezi campus in Solwezi. So may the Honorable Member say things that are factual and verifiable. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe the honorable member was referring to actual infrastructure. structure and not just an extension of the Copper Belt University. May the Honourable Member for Solwezi Central continue.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you most sincerely, because it seems like the people on your right do not know what they're talking about, and they cannot hear what someone is trying to put up. Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
Member, please, just the Speaker has already made the ruling. You just continue with your debate.
thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that wonderful guidance. Mr. Speaker, what we are saying here is young people should partake to the national cake. We should sit in the table where decisions are being made for this particular country. That's what we are saying. If you put a ministry for youth and sports, let the young people be in that ministry to lead it, because we know that we are capable. We are equipped with the knowledge to run this country. We do not need to wait until I turn 34 or 35 for me to contest as a Republican president for this nation. What we are saying is young people are energetic, young people are full of knowledge, and young people are able to take this country to the great height. The example is there, Mr. Speaker. We are able to look at the cabinets for our first Republican president, Kenneth Kaunda. If you look at that particular cabinet and the president himself, even the time they are liberating this nation, those people were not Madalas. Those people were young and vibrant youth who had the country at heart, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member, what is Madalas?
Madalas simply means those people that are old. That's what I mean, Mr. Speaker.
Please continue.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So what we are saying is, let there be policy that allows young people to take part in decision making. We do not want other people, elderly people, to sit, for example, in the cabinet to decide things about young people. Mr. Speaker, it's clearly said, if you cannot decide something for people that are not there, we need to be there ourselves, because we are the people that understand our pain. We are the people that knows what we are going through, and we are the people that should decide what is best for us, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we are urging the government to say, don't just say we are appreciating you with ABCD and C, allow us to sit in there and deliberate for ourselves.
The point of order is raised.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Is the Speaker in order? Is the current Speaker in order? Through you, Mr. Speaker. You may speak this. Am I protected?
Proceed, Honourable Member.
Am I protected?
You are protected.
Thank you so much. Through you, Mr. Speaker, is it in order to mislead this august house and the nation to say policy making, youths are not involved? We recently saw, through our able youth minister, implementing the youth policy, and the youths across the country, they were involved. Mr. Speaker, we seriously seek your ruling on this matter.
The Honourable Member was actually out of order because it's in public domain that the youths were involved in that process. May the Honourable Member continue.
Mr. Speaker, what the people of Solwezi Central are trying to say is, we don't want an old man to make decision for us. Let us make decision for ourselves. That policy can be well done by ourselves and not someone who is not a youth. That's what we are trying to say. So, Mr. Speaker, we would love to urge the government not to be referring to us that we are future leaders, because the future for us young people is now. And let us take charge now, not tomorrow. Tomorrow might be too late. We are ready today. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Honourable Zenase Siamukompe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, once more, for according indeed the people of Mungo Central this opportunity to speak for them and represent them. Allow me to start by first recognizing our forefathers. By then they were the youths. They fought diligently for this country. The likes of Samuel Mwansakapwepwe, our founding father, may he so continue to rest in eternal peace, Mr. Kenneth Kaunda. Honorable Speaker, we've seen truly from the time that Zambia got its independence, youth being involved. if there is a time in the history of Zambia where youths were not being involved, but rather being used as political tools, political agents that were beating us when we were going in these campaign grounds, it was during the time of the opposition. And it really saddens my heart. They come into this August House to mislead us and mislead the nation and claim to say that youths are not being involved. When in fact, the government, the new Dawn government, being headed by the Republican president, who was very much able and who was the heart of the youth on his mind, Mr. President, our able president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, we've seen a lot that has been done for the youth. Let's talk about political engagements. We've seen youths being involved now, politically. We can talk about economic development. We've seen a lot of youths that have come now through CDF. They've formed cooperatives. And they are able, Mr. Speaker, to create jobs through entrepreneurial skills, which they are doing. And we are recognizing that as a country. 60 years of independence is not a joke. Youths are indeed contributing to the governance of this country. Mr. Speaker, when you talk about also cultural aspects, we've seen a lot that has happened. Let us talk about the likes of Mzala. He's put Zambia on the map. Let us talk about our own artists. The likes of Yomaps, the likes of Chef, and these others. They've also put the country on the map through the collaborations which they are doing with other international artists. Truly, the opposition should do justice.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order is raised.
Is the honorable member in the right space to mislead the House that the likes of Yomaps, Shefi, and all these other artists who have mentioned, their success is attributed to government efforts? Can you kindly clarify and probably be specific? Because I believe these artists have not benefited anything from government. This has been out of their own talent. So is there anything deliberate from the government which you can suggest or prove to the August House that their success is attributed to government's efforts?
Yeah. The ruling to that point of order is very simple. It is through talent. Each one of us has been given a talent, and it's through our talents that we contribute to the governance of this country. The youth that are mentioned in the Honorable Minister's debate have used their talent, and through that talent they are paying taxes that are benefiting this country. So the Honorable Minister is in order to mention those. May the Honorable Minister please continue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. We've seen through the National Youth, through the National Arts Policy, which was also implemented together with the Youth Police, that these artists are able to contribute to the governance of this country. Mr. Speaker, social change. We've seen youth-led organizations being formed. We've got NAPOSU, a powerful organization that is there to speak for the voiceless students and represent them countrywide. We've seen a lot of organizations, the Youth Africa, which are also there. Mr. Speaker, as the government, truly we are able to recognize that youths have really contributed. Policy making. The leader of opposition came in this August House to lament and came to say that youths are not being involved. But youths were drawn across the country to come and bring up issues that are affecting them. And that are affecting almost each and every one of us here. Mr. Speaker, we have to understand one thing, that the youth have contributed massively, in as that we as the government also acknowledge to say that putting youth in certain key positions will be something that will be injurious to this country, but rather as the government, what what are we supposed to do and what are we doing? We are incorporating them through mentorship programs, Mr. Speaker. These mentorship programs, Mr. Speaker, you'll be able to see deputy PSs who are youths. You'll be able to see DCs who are youths. If we put them now, Mr. Speaker, we put these youths in these positions, they lack experience. You expose them to three things, Mr. Speaker: power, money, and sex, Mr. Speaker. That's when you see the real characters of these youths. But when we mentor them and we prepare them to control these three things, we are going to have a Zambia that we are seeing.
Honorable Minister, your time is up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
I will call upon the Honorable Minister of Youth, Youth and Sport, and thereafter the Honorable Government Chief Whip as acting leader of government business to respond on the government side. The Honorable Minister of Sport, Youth and Child Development.
Speaker, I would like to wish you a happy 68th independence. Mr. Speaker, my name is Joseph Mutela, Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Member of Parliament for Manevo constituency. Mr. Speaker, in the motion that has been raised as a Ministry of Youth and Sports, our position has been that as a Ministry of Youth and Sports, we do recognize the efforts that the youths have made in the development of this country. Mr. Speaker, it's already in public domain that as of the year 1991, the youths participated in ensuring that they ushered in a new government that brought about multipartyism. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2011, we also saw a change of government and youths were in the forefront. Recently, Mr. Speaker, in the year 2021, we saw the youths participating, coming to vote. Some of them were even wearing their graduation gowns. Mr. Speaker, the youths ensured that they ushered in a government that brought them new allowances, that increased CDF, the government that ensured that it brought about the free education policy. As a Ministry of Youth and Sports, we do recognize those efforts.
Honorable Minister, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a Ministry of Youth and Sports, we do recognize the efforts of our youths, and by way of appreciating the efforts of our youths, as a ministry, we have come up with the National Youth Policy that ensures that we recognize the efforts that the youths are making across the country, and we bring about programs that are going to support them in their various talents. Mr. Speaker, as a way of appreciating what the youths have been doing, we have gone further to ensure that we increase the number of student loans that are being given to the youths. We are very much aware, Mr. Speaker, that the future of this country lies in the youths. Once we educate the youth, Mr. Speaker, the future of the country is safeguarded. And our government is investing heavily in education. To safeguard the future of our country, we have ensured that we have given them back new allowances so that they should take back, so that they should study very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have gone further to ensure that we have granted them free education, something that they did not have in the previous regime. Mr. Speaker.
A point of order is raised. Honorable Minister, you can take your seat.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, sir, the precarious speaker, the Minister of Youth Sports, is actually telling us the things that youths have benefited. Now, coming to the motion that we are discussing here in this August House, we are talking about appreciating the contributions of the youth towards the governance. So if you give a student mere allowances, does that mean that they have been involved in decision-making process of the governance of the day? Mr. Speaker, I seriously seek your ruling on this particular matter, because you can imagine a home minister running away from the motion, and this stating facts to say, no, they've benefited. Quite right, yes, we benefited as this. But is it in order to tell this August House that they've benefited instead of contributing to the governance? Thank you.
Honorable members, I think let's pay attention to the debate as the other honorable member is debating. The honorable minister was appreciating the youth, the contributions that the youths have made in the governance system. And because of that appreciation, he was saying, because we appreciate the youth, that's why we have brought back new allowances. Okay, so that they can get educated and continue to contribute. I think that was the debate of the honorable minister. So he was therefore perfectly in order to debate in that manner. May the honorable minister please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was stating, Mr. Speaker, before I was rudely interrupted by members of your left.
Minister, you please withdraw the word rudely.
The honorable minister withdraws, Mr.
The
Speaker.
member has the right to raise a point of order.
The word is withdrawn, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Our government, Mr. Speaker, does actually recognize the efforts that the youth are putting in place in ensuring that we have a developed country. As well as appreciating them, Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that in the previous regime, new allowances were taken from them. But now, coming in 3 years down the line, Mr. Speaker, upon recognizing that these youths have been very instrumental in developing this country, not only have we given them back new allowances, but we have increased it. Mr. Speaker, we have gone further also in ensuring that the efforts of our youths are being recognized at national level. We have seen the likes of Barbara Banda and Musala Samkonga, whom we have actually brought on board and have brought their talents to public domain so that they can have sponsors. Mr. Speaker, we are a listening government and we care about the welfare of our youth. Mr. Speaker, point of order, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our youths are very instrumental to us in the sense that we are very much aware. There is a saying that says, what an old man is seeing while sitting, a young person cannot see it even when they are standing. As well as ensuring that we give our youths experience, Mr. Speaker, we have appointed them in some positions at State House and various other places which have seen them to gain the experience as they work along ministers. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business, the Honorable Government Chief Whip, Honorable Michelo Chizombe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and happy independence to you.
Thank you.
We celebrate how you conduct business here, sir. Allow me to extend our recognition in line with the motion, firstly to the youth back in the years and back in the day. Contributions that they did make to the governance of this country. As this House might be aware, it had to take the young people in 1964 to fight for this country's liberation. In 1991, it had to take the young people to fight for multi-party dispensation for this country. In 2011 and 2021, it still took the young people to effect regime change. And as a sober government that we are, we highly hold the young people with the esteem and dignity that they deserve. Mr. Speaker, I was listening to our colleagues very attentively, and
And I wondered whether we live in the same country. As rightly alluded by the Member of Parliament for Kabu, I've been here for 40 years. It's not a lie. And for the 40 years I've spent here, it's the first time that I've seen a government that takes so much pride in the young people. Men and women lie, Mr. Speaker, but numbers don't lie. For the first time, we have a Minister of Youth who is indeed a youth. At 27 years only, it has never happened in the history of this country. Under this government, it has happened. And as I bring these points home, Mr. Speaker, through you, I urge the colleagues on the left to pay particular attention, because they mostly miss these pertinent issues. What have we done to recognize the efforts of the young people? When you go to the State House, 65% of the assistants to the president are young people. It has never happened. When you go to senior civil service permanent secretaries, 69% of them are young people. The members were asking what that has been done in line with the contribution to governance. Here is the answer. Point of order. Mr. Speaker,
A point of order is raised.
Comrade Shizombe, MP for Mazabuka Central, I would like to get clarification on the figures which you've raised. You've been very quantitative in your debate. That is the source of the information, because you've raised a lot of issues, and 80% of the number of youths at State House are youth. So these figures, I'm disputing these figures because it is evident that most of the youths who are at State House, if the few who are at State House are actually sons of the bourgeoisie and politicians, the majority of the positions are highly occupied by the older generation. So can you confirm the source of those figures, because that is very un-Zambian?
Yeah. Thank you very much. The honourable member has sufficiently debated his point of order. May the honourable acting leader of government business please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you are aware, this is a government that does not speak from without, but from within and with facts. Yeah. At the end of my debate, I will lay the figures on the table here. Mr. Speaker, this government, to incorporate young people in governance, has rolled out the national youth policy that has brought young people from the 116 districts to contribute to the matters that affect their welfare. It cannot be overpronounced. What has this government done to incorporate young people in governance? Employment, Mr. Speaker, is part of incorporating young people into governance. Yeah. One member asked to say, you are saying what you've done. Yes. When you employ 30,000 teachers, you are incorporating them into governance, because they will be a part of the educators of the young people. Yeah. Nurses have been employed to provide health care services to the larger population. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, this government, with the rise of junkies in the compounds, has brought free education so that young people can be enlightened. This government is also aware that it's not all young people that have formal education. Yeah. To those that do not have the requisite formal education, it has brought skills development. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be overemphasized the athletes that have made this country proud, like Muzala and others, have been empowered by this government. As I sit down, Mr. Speaker, I would like to urge our colleagues to go and rework on their manifesto, because it is very depriving of the young people. As I have presented it here, Mr. Speaker, please let them go and work on it. That is if they want to come back, because it is highly unlikely. Thank you.
May the Honourable Meshach Mumba please wind up the motion.
Mr. Speaker,
sad again to hear that the leader of government, business government, is actually coming out so political and rude. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Member, the Honorable Acting Leader of Government Business was debating, and he had been given the right to do so by the chair, and there was no rudeness in his debate. So please withdraw the word rude and please continue.
I withdraw the word rude and I replace with the word unfairness. Mr. Speaker, these people are unfair to the youths. The figures are giving out are unfair to the youths. In trying to put the record on the ground, the appreciation to the youths, what we are saying as opposition is that the young people should be given a lead in government. Let's say here in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, we should have at least 50% youth. The other 50% should be those above 35. But what we see currently in the current government, all of them, they are above 40.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, even the youth chairman of their party is over 40.
Honorable Mumba, your role at this point is to wind up debate on the motion. You thank the honorable members who have debated and just simply wind up debate. It is not an opportunity for you to open up debate, to open up another debate. The issues of the chairperson or who is not a youth and what, those were in the earlier debate. Yours is to wind up. Please wind up the debate on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me just wind up in 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what we're talking about is we want the current government to put in policies that will actually favor the youth. Like we have earlier alluded as the opposition. We want all the things they say, the deliberate policies. Politics should not only remain to the bourgeoisie and the people that have money. Even the youngest people in Changombo should at least have access. If government can come up with policy to say, if you're a youth and you want to contest, you want to contest in
a point of order is raised.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I represent the people of Kapirim Portion. I would want to explain to the honorable member.
What's your point of order, honorable member?
I would like to give the point of order.
Order. Please, we have the floor.
Order. Order. Mr. Speaker, we have seen what the government has done. We have seen what the government has done. Personally, I'm coming from Kapirim Bush. It is evident youths were turned into monsters. When you go in station,
member, can you now get to the order? Order, honorable members. Order, members on the left. I don't want to send anyone out. Please, the honorable members got the floor. Just make your point of order and we proceed from there. What is your point of order? May our honorable member please continue.
shape the youths adequately, appoint the youths in these positions, let the DCs, the PS, in all ministries, be youths. That's what we are all requesting for. And that to actually echo out to every youth that the youths are appreciated enough. But if we only talk about the few youths that are employed in at State House, of which we've never seen them, the youths are not being given that opportunity to actually have that confidence and say, okay, I'm a youth and I'm respected. We are not being given that opportunity. But if youths are given opportunities to be DCs, PSs, and all these critical, they get these critical positions. Every youth in here, every youth outside there, they will have the confidence in the policies that have been set.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I'm winding up. So, from the previous government, of which one we belong as the opposition, we helped youth, and of which, and who are helping youth, it was seen they were driving. And this is the point of order, Mr. Speaker. This is something, Mr. Speaker, that we want to tell this people to say. When we appreciate the youth, Mr. Speaker, it should be seen.
Order. Honorable Mum, I'll guide again. You are winding up the motion, but you are raising new issues that may require the right to respond to. So, just wind up the motion so that we move on from here. You are guided.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the guidance. Am I protected, Mr. Speaker?
You are protected. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, in winding up, I want to say that as youth of this country, we want to feel the impact of the appreciation as it has been put on record under the August House. But we are deeply disappointed with the government for not attending to the real issues. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
I put the question. The question is that this House places on record its deepest appreciation of the contributions of the youth to the governance of the country in the last 60 years of independence. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. I can see His Honor the Vice President is here. His Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
I, the Vice President of the Student Youth Parliament, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debates? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.